my net worth is going up.
Okay, but what, I guess here's my question then. When buying these investment properties, I see a lot of people, they're maxing out, as much money as they can pull out, 85% on single family and what have you. But it's not cash flowing as well at that time.
Right.
So they're doing a 30-year mortgage. Chances are they're not holding that house for 30 years. They're not ever gonna pay it off, they're gonna sell it well before that.
Mhm.
Average lifespan of a mortgage is 5 years.
Mhm.
So would it sometimes be better just to save money, not buy as many houses and just buy it straight up cash? Because it's gonna cash flow better.
Yes and no, because leverage is how you get places quicker, right? Is through leverage.
If I have 5 properties with an 80% mortgage on them and I have 1 property that's owned free and clear,
There's nothing wrong with it. There's two different ways of thought. Yep. So some people like to leverage to the nth degree, and if you're doing that, you really need to understand the real estate market. You just can't jump in and leverage. Because again, if I'm selling a course, I'm saying, hey, leverage, hey, zero money down, hey, go golfing and then, maybe work on the side on real estate and buy my course. If you want to leverage, you really need to understand leverage, which I don't fully understand it, but I grasp it. I know when to leverage and when not to leverage for what I do, just single family, small multi-family. But there's nothing wrong with that cash. There's nothing wrong with buy cash. Wait till I have enough money, buy cash, take all that income, buy the next one cash. Nothing wrong with that. You're just not going to get there as quick. There's no way, right?
well, your cash will flow better, so you would get there as quick, wouldn't you?
Leverage is, if you just look at a lever, like a seesaw, right? You can always, it's just, think about leverage and think about that seesaw. You're always going to be able to push less and raise more with leverage. You'll get there faster. You can't, it's like trying to be, trying to run a football team by yourself. You're going to, 11 guys are going to get you to the end zone a lot quicker than one. But there's nothing wrong with that cash scenario. I love it because that's low risk. Cash is low risk. But there's so much you still need to know. You still need to know how to find that investment. What is a good investment? What am I going to set aside for repairs? What should I set aside for vacancy? What's a fair management to set aside? There's all that to think about. And then how do you implement all that? Then after you get 20 or 30 homes, how do you not want to shoot yourself or jump off a bridge? You have to have a good psychiatrist on your team. So we're gonna look at, we're gonna go right to what Sam talked about, which is like a P&L statement to kind of show you an idea on what should I be setting aside. This is a 4-unit that I bought in McDonald. It was in Midway, which is outside of McDonald. I didn't buy it because of that guy's buying in McDonald. I just bought it because it was a good deal. But I was way off on my numbers because I didn't know that market really well. Even though I've been doing this since '93, I still didn't understand that little niche market out there. So I'll show you the numbers I've used. This is not necessarily the numbers I use, but I'm going to show you what's right, and what's wrong with it. Okay, so I paid I think I paid 80, and I probably got 20,000 into it. So for 4 units, it was in good condition. It was a pretty good deal. I bought it with zero money down because I borrowed all the money. I refinanced it. I have a loan, and now the problem I had was we had a challenge finding good tenants. It's a small community. And it's hard to get there. It's like McDonald's. But what's even worse is at least in McDonald's you have a Giant Eagle and you have a laundromat, you have shopping, and you have restaurants. In Midway, you have nothing. You just have a clump of houses. It was probably maybe an old coal mining town or something at one point. So you need to know this, right? You need to know the logistics of how do I get there for repairs? What's my vacancy rate gonna be? What does my tenant population look like? How long does it take to find a tenant? How likely is it for that tenant to stay long-term or short-term? These are all things you need to think about. So, let me see if I can make that, get this. So purchase price of $160, my gross rent, $2,000, it's actually a little higher than that. The vacancy I used is 160, I think that's 8%. I used 8%. I probably should have used, and that's fairly high, I probably should have used maybe 10%. Now, I have a duplex that I own in Carnegie that's been vacant, I've owned it for 25 years, it's been vacant 6 months. Can you imagine that? 6 months? That's not a lot. It's a very low vacancy rate. That's not normal. So if that was the first one I bought, I thought, well, that's actually the second one I bought. But if I used those numbers for every real estate investment, I would not be doing justice, right? Because this building should be 10%. So I've already wrong there. Now this is what you'll see when you go buy and when you go on the multi-list or you meet with an agent and they show you these numbers, because on the multi-list, let's look at one on the multi-list and I'll show you. I'll give you an example. Does anybody have any questions? Because feel free to, I'm just talking and no questions here. Hey Alex, how do you keep so trim, so slim? Something.
How did you lose all your hair?
Here you go.
What do you think was creating that 10% vacancy rate? Just because it's harder to find good tenants?
Yeah, there's no shopping there. It takes a long time to get to work from there.
They're not a bustle lane?
No.
What's your opinion on Coraopolis?
Coraopolis is hot right now. Why, I don't know. It just is hot. So Coraopolis does have that shopping district, right? They don't have the best school district. It's Cornell, but maybe if they ever mixed with Moon. So if anybody knows, like, hey, I heard through the grapevine that Moon's, you know, if you heard that and it's true, you're probably too late,
They've been saying
right?
it for 30 years.
Huh?
They've been saying they're gonna.
Exactly. So maybe you're banking on that. Maybe they are gonna, so I'm just gonna buy everything in Corey. So Corey could be great. I owned a couple in Corey. I own a 4-unit in Corey right now that I'm probably gonna sell. The reason I'm gonna sell it is because I just feel this building is gonna be a money pit. I've just put a new roof on it. I'm gonna fix up the apartments. The storefront's rented, but the storefronts are on a side street.
Yeah.
So this is one I don't wanna hold on to. I'm gonna sell it, let somebody else deal with it. It could potentially be a very good investment for me. I'll probably put $40,000 in my pocket and just move on. Because I don't wanna hold that, because I feel it's just not, it's gonna be a money pit. And it's not right on 4th Avenue or 5th Avenue. Those are both the main drives that people come in and out. It's on a side street. So I think Corey could be great. It also could not be great. Okay, so let's look at, just look at a property that's on the market now. Hey, can you think of any out there right now, a multi-unit that we could look up the stats on, street name?
Sure, 100 Lee.
Okay, this is your listening, right?
Yep, sure is.
All right, here we go. Here we go, you picked this one.
My client's not here, so.
All right, so just keep in mind that we don't pick, a lot of times we don't pick the price, 90% of the time it's the client. Ian, would you say they priced this too high or too low?
You know, with how Carnegie's selling, I think we priced it pretty decently.
Well, but you guys can't see this, but they started at 179.9, which was too high.
There's 164.9 now.
Now it's 165. Okay, Ian and I sold one on Bouquet Street. Now, we would have kept this one, but at the time, we needed cash. But we completely rehabbed this side-by-side duplex, and we sold it for, it was beautiful. New kitchens, granite countertops, very nice. Rents for like $800 and $800. We sold it to somebody who wanted to live in half and rent the other for 160. What did we sell it for? Okay,
It was like a net of 160.
165-ish
That
or
was
something.
last year,
And we had a problem with it appraising? Was that one?
No.
Okay,
No.
but we've had problems with properties appraising, and why do you think in this market where prices are spiking, would you have problems with appraisals?
but
Yeah, because things are going up 10% a year, and there's only been 6 duplexes that sold in the past year in Carnegie, and those just happened to be at 140 and 150, and you sell one for 165. Appraisers are going to be not as generous. Sometimes it's an issue. So you have to think about that too. If I'm doing a flip and I think I want to sell this for 165, I know it's worth it. I know the market will pay it. And how do you know that? When you put it on the market and it sells. But then that person has to go get a loan and the bank says, it's only worth 145, I'm only gonna lend this buyer X amount. You either need to, as a seller, reduce the price, or the buyer needs to come up with more money down. Okay? Those are things you don't think about when you're on that side, because it's all, you're not aware of it, okay? So this one, I think we might have a problem with appraising, to be honest with you, with the condition of it and the exterior. But have you had any offers?
We had one kind of low ball offer,
Which was,
146 range, I think.
I honestly think I think that's not bad.
We sold the same couple sold a duplex up in Roslyn Heights for 186.
Yeah, but Roslyn Heights is a much better area.
Yeah.
And was it nicer, was it brick, was it bigger?
No, it was pretty similar.
Similar?
Actually, it was an up and down duplex, pretty similar condition. So I think the worst thing about this property is it has captive bathrooms, which you can't tell by the list. And the other thing is, if you look at the property next door, I mean, it needs to be torn down. It's just really bad.
Okay, so you see the curb appeal there? There's not much, because it's got some weird insul brick siding on it. That might even be asbestos siding, I'm not sure, you know?
Yeah, it's just pesticide, but so it's okay.
Yeah, it's not good or bad, I'm just saying it's not very appealing, like, I don't get up in the morning and my wife doesn't say to me, hey honey, let's go buy a duplex with asbestos siding on it, because I really like the way it looks. Has anybody ever said that? So it's not very appealing. So here's the beauty of knowing the market and not knowing the market. This sold in Carnegie, or it's on the market for 165. Ian sold one very similar in Roslyn Heights, which is Carnegie, same school district, for 185. So if you don't know your market and you bank on selling this for 185, what's going to happen, right? You made that mistake over and over again, and you kind of lose that momentum, and you'll start to doubt yourself, and you understand? So you really need to know the market, street by street, area by area, okay? So, but let's look at the numbers now. So, okay. All right, so Ian Hoover has 21,000 as gross income. So that's based on what it's rented for now.
Correct.
It's rented for 1,000 for a 3-bedroom and 750 for a 2-bedroom. I don't know how these people got $1,000 for a 3-bedroom, but they did, right? And the tenants are good,
Signed for a 2-year lease.
and they pay. They pay. Now, not knowing the market, you're basing all your numbers off of 1,000 and 750. In my opinion, it should be 850 and 750. Because when you go trying to rent it, it might take you 6 months to find a tenant at 1,000. So what's the difference between having a vacancy for 6 months and renting it for 1,000, or renting it within a month at 850? If you don't know that, and you're basing all your numbers off what Ian Hoover put in here, which Ian Hoover's just putting what is accurate, and that's not his fault. It's your fault for not knowing the market. Oh, I know it's rented for 1,000, but I know on average, I'm never gonna get that consistently every year. Okay, so be cognizant of that. Next thing to look at is vacancy. Does anybody own rental property that's never vacant? Well, why isn't there a vacancy in there?
Owner's never had a vacancy.
Owner's, hey, he's not lying, right? He's only owned it for 2 years.
Yeah,
You've never had a vacancy, but you as an investor need to put a number in there. I would probably use 5 to 10%, depending on how aggressive you wanna be, okay? Insurance, $800, that's probably fairly correct. Just depend, you can call your insurance provider and say, hey, Bob, what's the insurance gonna be on this $170,000 duplex in Carnegie, has a brick siding and has 2 new furnaces under the roof? They'll tell you right away, so you can easily look that up, right? Utility expense, very simple. If you have 2856 in here, that means that most likely it'll say in here, but the owner's paying for water and sewage, am I right?
Water's,
Okay, so the owner's paying for water and sewage. Do you wanna take that and say, oh, that must be accurate then? Or do you wanna maybe have Ian get the owner to provide you with the past 12 months of water bills? Who would choose that versus just, I guess, okay, you wanna verify that. How about maintenance? This house never breaks, nothing breaks in it. It's one of those few, it's the unicorn, real estate investment. Nothing ever breaks, so there you go. Now, what kind of maintenance are you gonna have on this house? Does anybody have any idea what we should set aside? Let's look at the pictures and then I'll let you guys come up with a number.
We don't much about the inside.
Yeah, Ian can tell us a little bit about it, right, Ian?
First thing I'd wanna know is what's the shape of the roof?
Roof, let's say the roof is good. It's probably pretty good, right?
Okay.
Now, when I look at a house like this, I look at the pitch of that roof. I'm gonna hold on to it. I'm gonna look at, I'm gonna have to replace it someday, right, if it's worn. But I also look at it this way, it's such a steep pitch, it's probably not gonna leak, and it can be repaired. So as a long-term investment, if it's a hot market and I realize that roof is worn, but I'm gonna be able to defer that repair for a long time because it's such a steep pitch and it's not gonna leak, I'm gonna buy it, okay? Because I'm looking at the long-term appreciation. So in 15 years, I could care less if I gotta put a $10,000 roof on it, because now it's worth $300,000. You see where I'm going with this?
Right.
So sometimes a bad roof or a roof that's worn can be a good negotiating tool, but you don't necessarily have to replace that roof. So, wow, we're off on a tangent. So let's say the roof is good. It's got asbestos siding. That's not good or bad. It is bad if it starts to come off. Then you're supposed to dispose of it properly, and yada, 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 okay? Side it. So